What's up, guys? JP back at you once again, bring you guys day number 17 in my 13th annual 31 Days of Horror, a series in which we watch and review 31 horror films in 31 days, all during the month of October, leading right up to Halloween. And for today's review, I decided to go with a film that I have seen before. I actually saw it at the drive-in, but it's been a little while, and that is The Boogens. So yeah, The Boogens from 1981. I've had this, this is an olive Blu-ray. I think Kino recently released this film as well on 4K, but the Blu-ray looks pretty good. So The Boogens is a movie that I've always been interested in, and I remember one year at local drive-in, they did like a ABCD horror. So like A was alligator, B was Boogens, C was critters, and D was, what the hell was D? I don't remember what D was. But they showed 4 films, and The Boogens was one of them. I'd never seen it before, so I was like, cool, that's awesome. And I remember watching it and being like really into it. But it's been a while since that was years ago. So anyway, I popped in the Blu-ray, wanted to revisit it. I remember thinking it was pretty good, so I was like, alright, let's check out The Boogens again. And the plot basically follows, at the opening we see that there was a incident at a mine back in like 1912. I think it's in Denver. Denver. Somewhere near Denver. There was an accident and a bunch of people in this mine died. There was one survivor, and the survivor basically says they were attacked by something. Everybody thinks he's crazy, so they like send him to a insane asylum or something. And flash forward to present day, 1980, 81. We have 2 new characters who are basically going to work in the mine. They're reopening the mine that's been closed since 1912, and upon doing so, they blast open part of the mine, and then basically people start dying slowly. This movie takes a while to get going, and eventually we find out that there are these creatures down in the mine that begin to kill people. And we also know that the mine is like connected underground to like all the basements in the town, like the houses, which is kind of weird, but okay. Which also makes it seem like weird that the Boogens were locked away down there until they started mining. I don't know. The plot is a bit maybe paper thin a little bit. Like it doesn't really, if you start really thinking about it, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense about it. But if you just roll with it, like, okay, maybe the Boogens were like blocked off in a different section, and then they unleashed them and blah blah. So it's a creature feature. The 2 guys, there's also 2 girls. The one lead guy begins a relationship with this other girl, and a lot of the film is that. I think this is a Canadian film, based on like just, well, for one, the accents, but 2, I think it just is. And oddly enough, dude, it kind of reminds me of My Bloody Valentine, just not as good. Obviously, like the mining aspect, but also like this small town feel of it. It does have like decent atmosphere, and like it, for as boring as it is in the first hour, I think, in terms of like not much happens. Like we don't see Boogens, we don't really see kills. Like it's just a lot of like characters. For as like simple and basic as that is, it still somewhat manages to be entertaining, which is like fascinating, at least for me. I don't know, like I kind of buy into the characters, and I would probably say around like the 45-minute mark, I started realizing like, hey, this movie is going slow as hell, like nothing's happening. But up until that point, I was kind of like, you know, not didn't really notice that it was not really much happening. And then so although it is a little slow, it was still entertaining for me, or at least it was engaging enough to where I didn't realize it was that slow until about like 45 minutes in, and then I was like, wait a minute, you're tricking me, bro. But once the movie actually starts getting going, like the final act of the film is really solid, and it makes you wish that that more of that happened throughout the movie. Like, I think it was just a money constraint thing. They don't really show the creature very much, or creatures very much, so it kind of reminds me of like Chud in that aspect, where like Chud was like a cool idea and stuff like that, but you don't really see the Chuds until the end, and you don't see them that much either. But I like the atmosphere, small town, mining town, Canadian. It feels like My Bloody Valentine, but with a monster or monsters, and not really that. Not really. It doesn't have the gore. It doesn't have like the effects, but there's some effects. There's some gore. I do think what we do see is like pretty utilized pretty good, and actually like holding off on showing the full Boogens is beneficial as much as it is annoying, you know, because it does keep it suspenseful, and they are kind of scary when you don't know what they are. But yeah. So I actually like the Boogens quite a bit. I definitely can see it has some flaws and stuff like that, but I do think that it's like pretty solid. Not as good as Alligator or Critters, which I also watched that night. What the hell was the D though? The D movie. I just cannot remember which one that was. Oh, Deadly Spawn. Yeah, if you take those four movies, those four creature movies, Boogens is definitely the worst. But yeah, I love Deadly Spawn. But anyway, the Boogens, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a. Is 7 too high? I'll go with a 6.5 out of 10, but it could be a 7, you know. So with that said, I'll see you guys tomorrow with another review. Peace.